Radio check. Loud and clear.
KSL Sports and KSL Podcast present Mode Push, an American view of F1, starting now.
I'm stuck. He's making cut with his honestly.
I'm gutted. I'm absolutely gutted.
I enjoyed this so much. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, welcome on in, everybody. It is Mode Push, an American view of F1. Thanks for being with us on our podcast, where we jump in and chat a little bit about the things going on in the world of F1, and we're so excited about it because F1 racing is back this week, and Dan Jimenez, my co-host, is always right here. I'm Alex Kirry. Dan, we're now, I guess, a year removed from when you had that wild whirlwind trip across the world, marked by your first trip to Australia, and then you ended up watching the Singapore GP. Do you miss it? Or do you not miss the fact that you had to travel for so long and then get yourself either sweating drenched or rain drenched?
You know, even the travel and the heat, if I had a ticket, I'd get on that plane tonight and I'd go. It was seriously such a great event. And yeah, I'd go back in a heartbeat for sure.
I don't think people remember, but that podium was a little bit wild. Can we go off of anything that happened last year to give us hope that Max won't run away with everything and get his 11th straight win in a row for this one?
That was a wild one because, yeah, in qualifying is when they had the controversy where Max pulled off his flying lap at the end of Q3 in the very last corner. And I was standing in the last corner, turn 24 or whatever it is. And Charles went by, provisional pole. Max is going through, and we could see on the screen that across the track, he was purple 1, sector 1, purple sector 2. He comes flying around the last corner and pulls into the pit lane, and everyone was just flabbergasted. And I think it ended up being something to do with his fuel sample. He had not enough fuel. It was not enough.
Yeah, it was something weird.
Yeah, so they're like, pull off, because if he had gone through, he would have done another lap to come back around, to come back to the pits. And so, yeah, so it was weird because Max wasn't on pole when he probably was on pace to be on pole. So Charles started, but it was soaking wet, like a torrential downpour like I had never seen before in my life came through right at this, 30 minutes before the race. So the race started and it wasn't really raining anymore. It was maybe drizzling, but there was a lot of water on the track. And I don't believe Singapore drains very well. Checo just put on a masterclass of racing in the streets in the rain. And it was a pretty entertaining race.
Speaking of Checo, did you see that McDonald's rolled out the full Checo menu? The Mexico McDonald's has the menu Checo, el menú Checo, right? It's all branded with his stuff. I mean, the bags, the cups, everything down to the last little bit. I mean, talk about owning the entire country, man. Yeah, so Mexico, McDonald's Mexico is going great. All in on Checo. And the funniest part about this is to pump it, they don't have him racing in an F1 car. He's in a cart. He's like they have him
in a go-kart.
Yeah, he's in a cart, and it's got McDonald's colors because you can't put him in an F1 car if you're going to promote this. So he's in a karting cart. It's 11, but it is a full like McDonald's branded cart, and the menu Checo is going to be, so the Big Mac is going to be all branded Checo for the next little while. So congrats to him. That might be the only win he has the rest of the season, by the way. Is that mean of me to say it like that?
I think he's on a little bit of a momentum building role right here not? Because there was some smack that was talked even from his own team. Helmut Marko had some comments this last week that was very controversial comments saying that because he's South American that he doesn't have his head in the right place like the European drivers. And they've walked that back and issued an official apology. But it was
because it sounds a bit xenophobic on top of being just like all the other bad things.
Oh yeah, no, this is not good. But I mean, Helmut Marko is full of stuff, right? But he, Sergio had a pretty good race. He fought his way through the Ferraris, and he finished 6 seconds off of Max, and it sounded like Max was having an overheating issue towards the end of the race. He dropped his times like the last 4 or 5 laps, like 2 or 3 seconds a lap. So Sergio was catching him because of that. But yeah, he's going into a place he won last year. He likes it. And so, yeah, maybe the money might be on Sergio for a surprise winner. Surprise being anyone other than Max, who's now won 10 in a row.
Right, sure. Yeah, and I think most of the time, I don't know. I mean, this last race was quite entertaining from a race standpoint, though. We didn't really get to break it down because we've been, both you and I have been living in our regular work worlds. But the Italian Grand Prix, you and I haven't talked about it, but that was as good of a race as I've seen all year long. And you didn't have to have rain to make that kind of be the caveat. Like, well, it was entertaining because the equalizer was the rain. No one knew what to do, any of that stuff. It was full on. I couldn't believe the wheel-to-wheel action. I couldn't believe that the Ferraris were trying to go full Red Bull 2017 and put, each other's car into the back of one another. And, to their credit, it actually worked out. It was weird, but it was fun to see Carlos Sainz actually – kind of outdo Charles Leclerc, and to see, I mean, obviously Checo, it was nice to see him up there as well because he just gets dogged so much, but a 1-2 for Red Bull, and then just exciting racing. I mean, the reality is it was just so much good racing, the entirety of it. And what did it take Max to even run down the Ferrari? 15 laps probably, I think, at the beginning?
Yeah, 16 laps, I think, is when he got past them. And, I was surprised that Carlos held on that long, and then also that he was able to hold off his teammate because he used up his rear tires so much trying to keep Max behind him that, Charles going for it there in the last 5 laps trying to get past his teammate when his team had told him to hold position was wild. I especially on that last lap dive bomb, I thought for sure they were going to make contact and it was going to be tragedy. But, to both of their credits, they stayed off of each other somehow. And it was a super exciting race. I think that all around there was action up and down the pack and a lot of, green flag passing that we, hadn't seen in any other race outside of, the rained races. So
from a championship standpoint, I think we all know that Max Verstappen, I mean, I don't know if he's officially clinched it. I don't know how you could say he hasn't yet. I mean, there's not, 8-9 races left, and he's 150 points even clear of his own teammate. But interestingly enough, after everything, Fernando Alonso still holding on to that third place in the driver's standings behind Sergio Perez. And I think that those are, let me see here, that's 49 points separate he and Checo. Lewis Hamilton, though, is 6 points behind Fernando. Carlos Sainz is 45 points behind Lewis Hamilton in that fourth spot, and Charles Leclerc is 6 points behind his teammate. I don't know, but the thing for me, I'm trying to think of guys who have still just massively impressed, and Alex Albon cannot be understated for how well he's doing. I mean, I've been in the sport. When I say in the sport, I've been watching this thing, Dan, for since 2018, the first season of Drive to Survive, and it's 2023, and I've never seen a Williams driver 21 points for a Williams driver is an impossible thing for me to even fathom, knowing how poorly they've performed over the last 5 years. They've got to be over the moon about Alex Albon. That dude is a national treasure there in England because he just is doing so much with that car. And Williams, to their credit, they've come so far as well. I mean, my heavens, he's just off of Oscar Piastri. He's just off of Esteban Ocon. And just he's 13th. I mean, when was the last time you saw that? I know that's kind of a weird thing because in my world of sports, saying somebody is 13th is stupid. But but when he's been finishing 6th and 7th and 8th and whatever, I mean, that's been really, really fun for me to watch for Alex Albon.
Yeah, it's, I think, the feel-good story of the year to see the turnaround at Williams because, it was not that long ago, 3 seasons ago when the team was led, still family-owned and led by Claire Williams, that they weren't just last, they were last by a country mile. They were nowhere close to the rest of the pack. And it was just depressing because they have this storied history with so many championships and wins over the decades that to just see them, running around essentially like an F2 team in comparison was just a bummer. But to the private equity group that came in and took over and was able to shake up the management and bring over James Vowles.
Who was it? Doritos? Was that what you said?
Dorito Capital. Yeah. Dorliton Capital.
It's an American team, essentially. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. This is the one case where American private equity has actually been successful in taking over a business. I think might be the only case that's ever happened, but it's amazing to see the turnaround. I think not enough credit goes to James Vowles, the new team principal who came over from Mercedes at the beginning of the year. Mm-hmm. And, Alex is showing what the car is capable of. And I think it is putting a lot of pressure on our homeboy Logan Sargent to step up, because Logan, when he came in, there were some question marks because it's not like he won the F2 championship. He kind of barely squeaked by into having enough super license points to be able to make it anyways, and there was the thought that it was kind of a marketing play to get him on here. But when you have Logan with 0 points and Alex Albon with 21, you have to start looking around the rest of the grid and thinking, as dominoes start to fall in the silly season, I think Logan might be the next one on the chopping block, because there's untapped potential there with that second car on the team.
I was just reading something though from today. I know we kind of look and go, "Oh boy, Checo, this is not your place, man. Like you got to be gone, dude." He is now, as of this race this weekend, Dan, the longest tenured racing teammate in F1 of Max Verstappen.
Oh no. That doesn't bode well for Sergio.
It's not a good thing?
I feel like that's like Leonardo DiCaprio and Girlfriends, man. You just know what's about to happen.
No, but oh my gosh, hey, I didn't say he was the youngest. I said
He's older than 25.
He's the most tenured. Yeah, 59 races they'll have been together as of this weekend, and that passes up Danny Rick. And yeah, the Danny Rick deal did not necessarily end in the best way possible for him. But let's talk about the historic version in this version of who Max Verstappen is, because I don't know. It's weird because as he's gone along here, you've seen a progression of a guy who is not that like dumb, mean kid anymore, or just kind of like indifferent kid. Don't you feel like he's grown up even just that little bit more and become an even bigger pro? Not just because of the winning, but it seems like he's saying everything right now. It's just everything that surrounds Max Verstappen seems to be kind of the Midas touch situation.
Yeah, he seems polished, especially compared to the year when he won his first championship was at 2021. That year he was any pass he made, especially around Lewis, he was really pushing the envelope on driving like a gentleman versus driving ruthlessly. And I think now he doesn't have to drive like that, so he just seems a lot more chill, and maybe a bit more professional. So I don't know, I feel like Max is has plenty of fans, but he's probably winning more people over from a fan standpoint from just his general personality. Seems to be a bit more interesting in the past. That was, he seemed to be more of a turnoff before.
As we start to look at this race coming up this weekend, what are the storylines that you're looking at to where, everything kind of surrounds looking at Max Verstappen extending that record, and then everybody just goes, anyway, moving on beyond Max Verstappen and going to the rest of the race and the rest of the field. So who are making those moves? Because I think for a minute there we thought, look at Aston Martin. They figured it out. And then this last race, we were like, they haven't figured it out yet. So I don't know what to expect this next part. Is Mercedes going to keep dialing it up? And you and I didn't even get to chat about Toto going, the record is completely irrelevant to me, whatever Max is doing. I don't actually pay attention. I don't see any of this. He going full on, I don't care about the record. I don't even know what that is. It's totally irrelevant to me. Well, yeah, it's irrelevant to you, but it's still a big part of the fact that, look, man, you can be a billionaire in the sport and the only billionaire in the sport and be like kind of gracious and going, yeah, man, that guy, he's amazing. He's good for our sport. Everybody's seeing this guy's amazing, but we've got to figure out a way to, close the gap with him instead of doing the whole, I don't even think about him. I don't even know who the Max Verstappen is. Like, that is ridiculous. Come on.
Yeah, no, it seems like every 48 hours there's another quote of, Toto saying something that's completely just like shameless. It's, either that he doesn't care about records or that, yeah, that, that teams shouldn't be able to dominate as much as they do, or that he would never, like this one earlier this week is like, I would never cheat. Like I would never cheat before, trying to gain any kind of performance advantage. I'd rather lose before I'd cheat. And somebody tweeted out the picture of the secret FIA test that Mercedes used to do, like secret tire tests that nobody knew about except for Mercedes. It's like, dude, you've cheated in the past. So give us a break. Toto's a bit ridiculous. So I think going into this weekend, the big storyline for me is, will Max let up after having broke the record? Was it like, I got to get to 10 and then I'm going to ease up, or, 10's just a number and I'm going to keep going? I doubt that he's going to ease up, but I think there is something about like the record is his now, and then maybe there's less pressure to win this weekend. Both Max and Helmut Marko after the last race were starting to sandbag, and they've done this in races past, but they're starting to sandbag their expectations for Singapore, saying that it was not a track that really played into their hands, and that was maybe more of like a Ferrari or Mercedes track. So we'll see if that's true, or if they're just, playing head games. One of the two big changes going into this weekend. One is a technical directive that came out. So rule changes around things that the teams have been doing with the noses, like the front wings and the rear wings of the car have been like flexible, either like elements that were flexible that would flex under aerodynamic load and change the way that the wing works based on how fast they were going, or like even rubber parts that were meant to like bend under certain loads. And those were kind of getting classified as mechanisms, and aero mechanisms are against the rules. So anyways, that's all been cleaned up for this week. So a lot of the teams will probably lose that advantage that they had before. And then the second big change is that the third sector is going to be a lot faster. They've taken out 4 corners, essentially. There used to be in the last sector this right, left, right that like went right out onto the Marina Bay. And I guess that's under construction right now. And so it's a big, long straight. So we're going to have a third sector that's pretty long with just like one or two turns in it, like one chicane. So that'll make it easier on the tires, easier on the brakes. So we'll see how that plays into, into the hands of different teams, but it adds another high speed section. So some differences compared to last year for sure, both on a rules basis and track layout basis.
I know it's crazy, but the F1 news calendar and weather report has put, tell me if you're sitting down, Dan, expects rain and possible thunderstorms. What? Not in that part of the world.
Believe it.
How dare they?
Dude, when it's already 99% humidity, rain could come in, the blink of an eye. So, yeah, I think it'll make it for an exciting race for sure. If it gets a little wet, it definitely made it exciting last year.
Well, we'll see. I mean, I don't have to have that to make me feel better about like the race weekend, or to like make me feel like we're going to get a little bit of a closer finish. I do like seeing teams guessing of like, what are we going to do? What are we going to full wet? When can we go to the slicks? All those things come into play, and then at some point we just go, I can't believe Ferrari blew that. I can't believe they guessed wrong. Like I just like the idea of going at these guys when they don't when they blow it for like just 2 seconds. Like how dare they not figure it out? How dare they not guess the weather correctly? It is crazy to me how predictable though the radars are once they do see those radars and they're like, we'll have 4 to 5 seconds of rain and then it will stop. I love when they tell the drivers that and they like move on. It's I mean, we don't need that in other sports because it's just like, dude, if lightning hits, we stop. If not, you're just going to go. It doesn't matter. There's no version of changing your cleats really in football. I mean, you can, but they don't really do it that often. Dan, big race weekend. We're excited about it. And I know that you're as excited as I am about jumping in for another race week. And I don't know if we're going to get a great race. I mean, I'm crossing my fingers, but I don't know. You tell me, what's the wisdom on if this is going to be a good race or not?
I've always enjoyed Singapore. I think it's visually, it's a spectacle to watch. I mean, and now having been there in person, it's just amazing that they can fit everything they do inside of that such a tight urban setting. So I think it's fun to watch. In terms of side-by-side racing, it doesn't lend itself towards a lot of passing because it's such a tight circuit, but throw rain into the mix, throw some uncertainty around new track layout and new aero regulations, and we might have a surprising finish. And maybe Max decides 10 is enough, that's the record that'll stand forever, and he can maybe maybe relax a skosh this week. So
I
think there'll be a surprise podium this week. I'm feeling good about it.
Okay, surprise podium. I'm hoping for it as well. For Dan Jimenez, I'm Alex Kirry. Thanks for being with us. Download the podcast. Tell friends that you're going to love F1 if they haven't tried it. And then have them download the Mode Push podcast. For Dan and Alex, we'll talk to you next week, everybody.